What up, guys? Man, I'm back from Tulum. I am back from Tulum. Tulum was dope, man. I'm gonna post a video here soon, show you guys the trip, show you guys where we stayed at. Tulum, I will say this now. You gotta do your research when you get there, and you gotta figure out what your Tulum is. So me and my wife went a birthday trip, and most of the stuff that people like that they promote is the party stuff, like really hard party stuff, and we're not really into like rave, house music, stuff like that. We like Latin music, we like salsa, we like reggaeton, but we like R&B, we like hip hop, and that type of music really ain't out there. Even the Latin music, believe it or not, for like the beach clubs, all the stuff that people recommend. But we ended up finding some dope spots, man, and it was good time. Really good time. So we ended up finding, like, instead of a beach club, we went to a cenote club. Man, wait till y'all see that. That shit was immaculate. Anyways, good evening, y'all. Good evening. What's going on? All right. So the first video I wanted to check out. Man, what the hell? I tried using some software. Hold on, let me do something real quick before we get started here. I was trying to get my streams lit, man. So I got some stuff. Try to make it better, but apparently this shit ain't working, bro. Oh, we good now? Think we good now? No? What's up, Ignacio? How you doing, man? Let's try this. All right, we about to get started real cool, cause I got some stuff I want to cover tonight, man. Back on our stream grind. Okay. Edit widget. Boom. That shit to go though. Good men adapt. Use brainwash rot to your advantage. What is that? Tung Sahur. Alright, I guess that ain't gonna work. That's alright. Just gonna watch this real quick. Aaron Bear, if that's something I need to check out, I will check it out. But
we live online, we breathe content, we consume media like it's oxygen, and we're constantly bombarded with warnings about how we're damaging our minds with all this scrolling, all these edits, all this stimulation. But what if I told you we're actually at the beginning of something new? What if all this brain rot is about to change? I'm not here to shame you for using social media. I'm not going to tell you how many hours of screen time is acceptable. I'm here because I think we're witnessing the early signs of a major shift. Let's talk about what brain rot actually is. It's that feeling when you've scrolled for hours and somehow feel both completely overstimulated and totally empty. It's when you're watching Netflix while scrolling Instagram while half listening to a podcast. It's when you can't remember anything you watched yesterday despite watching content for 6 straight hours. We all know this feeling. We all live this feeling. When I say we, I absolutely mean we. I'm not above any of this. For years, we've been told this is happening because our attention spans are destroyed. We're dopamine addicts. We're broken. But that explanation feels too simple. Too convenient. It doesn't capture what's actually happening to us. Think about something you saw online that genuinely moved you. A video that made you feel something real. a song that transported you somewhere else. We all have these moments, which immediately shoots down the idea that our brains are completely fried and unable to connect with anything. The real question is, how much content did you have to sift through to find that one piece that actually mattered? Hundreds of videos? Thousands? And do you remember any of them in between? That's the actual pattern. We're not incapable of paying attention. We're drowning in a sea of content that's explicitly designed to be forgotten the moment after it's consumed. Every platform, every creator, every brand is competing for your attention. So they've engineered content to be increasingly emotional, increasingly stimulating, increasingly addictive. It's not just about short attention spans anymore. It's about who can create the most intense feeling in the shortest time. TikToks are 7 seconds of pure concentrated emotion. Songs are getting shorter, more hook-centered. YouTube videos are edited with a relentless pace. None of this is revolutionary information. We all know the internet is changing us. We know and we've known. But now we're entering something different. We're not just in an era of distraction anymore. We're in an era of merciless emotional gratification. And it's getting more intense every single day. Every time you open an app, you're bombarded with content that's more beautiful, more emotional, more complex, more intense than the last time. That sounds amazing if you don't think about the implications. But when you spend enough time being constantly bombarded by content, you start to feel something weird, something that has nothing to do with failing attention spans or addictive algorithms. It's a feeling of emptiness, a weird dread that sits deep in your chest after hours of emotionally saturated content. That's what scares me most about all this. Not that we can't focus, but that we're being overloaded. Our capacity to process information has limits. The content doesn't. And this overflow of digital stimulation is affecting how we interact with the world around us. Have you noticed how difficult it's becoming for us to connect offline? There's research suggesting our generation experiences higher rates of social anxiety when it comes to in-person interactions. It's not our fault. When you grow up in an environment where digital communication is primary, face-to-face interaction becomes this strange, unfiltered experience that we can't edit, can't delete, can't curate. Our devices have become externalized emotional regulation systems. Feeling awkward? Pull out your phone. Feeling bored? Open TikTok. Feeling anxious? Scroll Instagram. Feeling lonely? Watch YouTube. The problem isn't that these are inherently bad coping mechanisms. The problem is that they're becoming our only coping mechanisms. And they're not actually designed to help us cope. They're designed to keep us engaged. The systems that deliver this content are getting better at emotional targeting. They're learning what makes you angry, what makes you sad, what makes you laugh, what makes you scared, and they're serving you more of whatever keeps you scrolling. The entire digital infrastructure is built around this model. Your emotional state is the product being sold to advertisers. So are we doomed? I don't think so, because something is happening. People are getting tired, really tired, not just metaphorically, neurologically exhausted. Our brains weren't designed to process information at the volume and emotional intensity we've been
I
forcing
agree with
them
this.
to. Have you noticed
getting
how
tired.
many people are talking about digital detoxes now? How many friends have deleted TikTok or Instagram because it was melting their brain? How the term brain rot itself has gone mainstream? That exhaustion is actually the first sign we're entering a post-brain rot era. When you get so sick of feeling manipulated by short-form emotional content that you start seeking something else, something deeper, something more substantial, that's the beginning of change. Look at what's gaining traction. Long-form podcasts where people just talk for hours. YouTube videos that go deep on a single topic without frantic editing. Communities forming around shared interests rather than shared content. This isn't happening because we suddenly got more virtuous. It's happening because we're exhausted. Our brains are screaming for coherence, for something that doesn't feel like it's tearing us apart. I think what we're seeing is a pendulum swing. We pushed so far in one direction, toward fragmentation, toward micro-content, toward algorithmic curation, that a counter movement was inevitable. People are seeking out more integrated, more coherent experiences. And the interesting thing is, platforms are starting to respond, not out of the goodness of their hearts, but because market forces demand it. If users become dissatisfied, platforms adapt. There's a growing recognition that optimizing solely for attention is a race to the bottom. Eventually, you hit the biological limits of human perception. You can't
That
make
makes
videos
sense.
shorter than a certain threshold. You can't make cuts faster than the brain can process. So, what comes next? That's the post-brain rot era I'm talking about. It's not about abandoning digital spaces or returning to some pre-internet utopia. It's about evolving towards something more sustainable, more nourishing, more human. I think we'll see a bifurcation of digital experiences. On one hand, algorithmic content will continue to optimize, getting more precisely targeted, more emotionally calibrated. But on the other hand, we'll see the growth of spaces that explicitly reject that model. The post-brain rot era isn't about going backward. It's about moving forward more consciously, about building digital spaces that enhance our humanity rather than exploit it. This transition won't be easy or clean. The psychological hooks of infinite scrolling and algorithmic feeds are deeply embedded in our daily routines, and not everyone will make this transition at the same time or in the same way. For many, especially younger users who have never known anything different, the brain rot era is simply normal. It's the water they swim in. But I believe the signs of change are there if you look for them. The growing dissatisfaction with algorithmically driven experiences, the fatigue with constant stimulation, the yearning for something more substantive, more meaningful. The most interesting aspect of this shift is that it's not being driven by moral panic or technological reactionaries. It's coming from digital natives themselves, people who grew up online and are now demanding something better, because ultimately, what's at stake isn't just how we consume content, it's how we experience reality, it's how we relate to each other, it's how we understand ourselves.
This is a good video. I think it's a couple things that hit me on this video that I thought was smart. One of them is, I get the whole idea of long form content and things not just being dopamine hits, right? We go on TikToks, on Instagram Reels, on Shorts, and we just want quick content. And a lot of times you don't remember anything, and you feel like you've wasted your day, and shit makes you depressed, But he's saying that the longer form stuff, the stuff that isn't super cut up, that you got to kind of pay attention to, is healthier. And I see why he's saying it's healthier, but it's still, at the end of the day, it's still content, right? You're still on your phone, on your iPad, all those things, right? But I think the key there is that longer form that's not super cut up, you have to pay attention to more, which means you're in the moment more. Like, I can't watch a YouTube video and multitask the same way that I could watch like TikTok videos and multitask, in my opinion, because with the TikToks I at least know I know what happened, I know what's going on, and I can either laugh or move on. But with like YouTube, when they're explaining shit, I gotta replay the same thing 100 times if I'm multitasking. I don't know if that's ever happened to you guys. And there might be a counter argument for that, but that's just kind of how I'm feeling right now about that portion of the video. But I think the key again is more so that you're in the moment. Like, whatever you're doing, man, I used to like almost brag about being able to multitask, not realizing that's part of brain rot, right? Like, I'm not in the moment on a lot of those things. I just get the task done and keep it moving, but I didn't gain anything from it. I didn't, I'm not smarter because of it. I'm gonna forget that I did those tasks, and a lot of times have to redo those tasks. Or I've made mistakes doing those tasks. So I just think being in the moment, and that's key just in general, man. Like we were in Tulum on vacation, and one of the biggest things that I have to fight with when I'm not working, when I'm not um, home, is that being in the moment and shutting it off when I do go on vacation and stuff. So um, another part in this video that I thought was good was he brought up this idea that um, you should be consuming content based on your interest, not off of dopamine hits. So you go on to TikTok, you go on to Instagram, and it's just kind of random. It's the algorithm trying to figure out what's going to get you to watch, what's going to give you that dopamine, right? There's no substance behind it. There's no, it's not something like that's going to make you better or anything like that. Where that's one thing I do love about YouTube, even though you can refresh and go through your timelines and stuff. A lot of times when I'm using YouTube, it's because I'm learning something, I'm researching something, and that's another reason why I like ChatGPT, because you get that information quick, and so you could be inspired by something that you watched on YouTube and go to ChatGPT, and you're learning this shit in 4K on a whole nother level than has ever been, accessible to us. That's why I'm loving like doing these streams, but I want to choose topics that ain't just about dopamine, man. It's actual growth. So we're learning shit, we're getting better. Our conversations in real life will get better because we have shit to talk about. And not just shit to talk about, but if we're training ourselves to be in the moment with everything that we do, you'll ask better questions as well. Like that's one of the things that I learned from reading the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. A lot of times people, when they're talking when they're socializing with people, they think it's, I got to make this person interested in me, so I need to sound interesting. And so you talk about yourself and you talk about shit that you think they might be interested in. And human nature is everybody's interested in themselves the most, And so a lot of times it's just listening to people, asking good questions and listening to them and learning who they are, being in the moment, right? Like that's what makes people like you. It's not what we think it is. Like it's not trying to impress people or trying to be interesting. It's literally just showing interest in people and asking genuine questions. And if you're not interested in that person, you don't have genuine questions to ask them, then don't fake it, because then you're going to build fake relationships. Like I think it should be organic, and by changing the way you consume content and your routine with it, and the fact that you're not relying on an algorithm to give you a dopamine, you're actually you're growing yourself. Yeah, man. So I just thought covering the whole brain rot thing was. I watched it on the plane when I was landing today. I just thought it was an interesting topic to talk about, because it's a lot of people, man, that I see with my kids. I got a 14-year-old son and an 11-year-old daughter. Man, as soon as we see something's off here. Wait, the grades ain't looking like they usually look. Wait a second, she's been having more attitude than she usually does. What's going on? We figure it out, and most of the time, it's brain rot, bro. Most of the time, they've been on their iPads too much, they phone too much. They don't know how to act in the real world. All of a sudden, they're impatient. They're in a bad mood. Everything is a big deal. All of a sudden, like that's society right now. Bro, people on their phone getting triggered and then will go outside and see something that normally wouldn't trigger them in real life, and it does. It just makes you a shitty person sometimes, depending on what your time. Listen, I can tell a lot of times just by socializing with people, talking to them, what kind of content they probably consume. You know what I mean? I know y'all know what I'm talking about. So yeah, interesting video, man. So yeah, that point in the video where he said, consume content that are your interest, right, or that's you trying to grow, trying to learn something. And what happens is it brings you to the communities that want to talk about those things. And then you have real conversations with people online, right? Okay, cool. But then maybe that opens the door to meet people in person that are like those people online that share those interests. All of a sudden, man, everything comes easier. Your social life grows. Your relationships are deeper. You have real friendships, not these fake ass ones that a lot of people have. And anyways, all right, let's move on to the next topic at hand. So that was brain rot and the post brain rot era. That was a good video. For those of you guys who wondering whose video that is, let me hit the like. This was a great video. Alistair, probably his best performing video. He's only got 27,000 subscribers. I'll hit the subscribe, man. Cool. Yeah, no problem. What's up, Crocodilo? All right. Oh, another topic I wanted to cover is what makes a good man, right? I had reacted to this Fresh and Fit podcast episode, and I thought, and I used to watch Fresh and Fit a lot, especially because I found them through like Myron used to talk about investing and stuff like that. So I initially found them through that. And they were inviting like dope like guests to their podcast, but then they were doing these late night conversations with women that were interesting because they were bringing on guys like Kevin Samuels and stuff. And that's how I learned about their night shit. I had seen Myron shit because he had fitness stuff. He had all the shit that men are into, bro. And it wasn't that big. And then I remember Kevin Samuels blew up. I started watching Kevin Samuels. And then Kevin Samuels was on Fresh and Fit, and then Fresh and Fit blew the hell up. I think they were already doing the podcast before, but when he got on the scene, it brought a whole nother blast, a whole nother audience in, and they blew up. So anyways, I'm saying that to say, I reacted to a recent video, and I was just like, it wasn't even nothing on Fresh and Fit. It was this guy, Chris, because when I was watching it, I don't remember him being on the show early on. So this guy was kind of new to me. I'm like, what the hell? Man, he was acting a fool, bro. Disrespect, just acting a fool. Just acting like a bully. Shorty already said she shouldn't have, she didn't know what she was talking about. Cool. Just kept going. And I don't even know nobody's background. I can only, I'm only judging that. I'm not saying that, I'm not attacking nobody personally. I'm not saying Chris is a bad guy or anything like that, but that specific scenario and the other times that I've seen him speak, because I have watched, because after I reacted to it, a lot of their supporters came on, and not a lot, but a bunch of guys, more than normal, because I don't get a lot of comments. They came in and they were you could tell they got a lot of support, Fresh and Fit, but they were sticking up for the show, saying that the show isn't like that. It was just Chris or whatever. So I was like, you know what? I'll react to a whole episode then. And they recommended a specific one. I was watching it. I was like, man, I don't see how this is productive at all, bro. Like, this ain't even normal. These are the exceptions. These are the extreme exceptions. And you got a lot of young men that think that that's the normal woman. And I'm not saying that it's not a common thing. Yeah, it's common. But it's also like it's both sides are participating in the bullshit. Both sides, women and men, are all participating in the bullshit. because the same dudes, to me, what makes a good man, bro, is and I gotta have God in the center. There's no person who's a more perfect man than God. And so I study, God, because I want to be a man of God. And the definition of that, bro, ain't what a lot of, the manosphere in general talks about, that they say. You know what I mean? And so, anyways, it's not really like what they represent when it comes to relationships, in my opinion. But I think the manosphere is great for young men. Don't get me wrong. I just think that the both men and women are leading our future generation to more bullshit, man. You got women on one side saying you don't need a man, boom, boom, boom. You got men on the other side saying, just look out for yourself, king, or no simps, and all this shit, bro. All this shit. And most of it, a lot of it is true, but it's like, bro, that's what we're pushing onto the next generation. There's young men always watching these podcasts and stuff. And again, I made a video reacting to it, and a bunch of guys, jumped on. Some of them was talking shit, being disrespectful. Like, man, I ain't never been that guy in any room I step in real life. So stop that shit, bro. Stop it. That's what it made me want to. That's what it had me feeling. But it's the internet, bro. It's the internet. So whatever. I'll say that to say, yeah. So they're jumping on my videos, and they're commenting, all sticking up for them. And my thing is like, I would never, like, I watched an episode. Actually, what's up, Crixie? I watched an episode where, they're asking the women in the episode, the longer podcast. I'm sorry, I'm struggling getting my thought out. But in the longer podcast that I said I would listen to because of all the commenters, they asked every woman on the panel, and these women are fucked up. There's one woman there who's conservative, a woman of God, I consider normal. The rest of them were wild. OnlyFans, and I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that, and all of them were strippers, including the 18-year-old. It was crazy. That's not normal. I'm not knocking it. But you're bringing these women on a panel, and men are watching this, and they're thinking this is what's out in the marketplace. Because you also see these young men say things like if I say something about it, they'd be like, yo, it was different in your time. Women weren't walking around like this. I'm like, bro, those women always existed. I went to a high school with there was a whole building just for pregnant students. It's just on social media, like loud, and they going on podcasts and talking crazy. And that's what podcasts are bringing on, because that's what gets your dopamine fixed. That's what gets all the attention. That's what goes viral. But that ain't normal, bro. Those are the extremes. And so anyways, they were asking these women, hey, what are 5 red flags that if you saw, if your son brought a girl home, what are some red flags that you would see in a woman that you wouldn't want your son dating? And they were mentioning things, and everything they mentioned, these girls, that was them, qualified. That's them. And so, they was like, yo, do y'all not see this as a problem? They're like, yeah, I get it. Yeah. And so, anyways, they're watching this episode, and young men, this is this is what social is like to them. They don't really have that real life social shit these days. And so that's where they get to get the exposure of these type of questions being asked. And it's almost like this is becoming normal. This is not normal. That ain't normal, bro. Like right now, a lot of people, especially if you're young, high school, college, you're around a lot of women and young women who a lot of you guys grew up with. You kind of know their life. You kind of know who they are. You kind of know what you're getting. And you should probably start, keeping those real relationships now. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying get married early, but keep those real relationships because you know who these women are and vice versa. You know? So anyways, all these women were like, yeah, red flag if the girl's this, if this and this. And some of the shit is just common sense, respectful. They were saying stuff like respectful, loyal, she can't be talking to other boys, like just weird shit. Like just common sense, okay? I thought they was gonna go deeper than that. Go deeper than that. Cause I could tell you a red flag for my mother was if the girl didn't serve me. I'm serious. Like that was I'm Puerto Rican in Colombia. My mom's Puerto Rican. She does not play that. And so anytime I would bring a girl home, if she didn't serve me when dinner was cooked, like, or if she didn't go in the kitchen and watch conversate with my mom while she's in the kitchen, because my mom wanted her to learn how to cook like her. Thank God she did, because my wife can cook, man. She cooks just like my mom, bro. Pierogi, all that stuff. That might trigger some people, but I'm telling you those are the things that would be a red flag to my mother. My mother had high standards for her son. Ain't that how it's supposed to be? Right? So like, women should be raising the man that they would want for their daughter. Men should be raising the man that they would want for their daughter. Right? And we should be raising men that we want, or we should be raising women that we would want for our sons. Raising women that we would want for our sons. And so, like, you wouldn't want your daughter being with a man that just cheats on her, and adultery. Not if you're a man of God. Adultery. You wouldn't want that for your daughter. But we know the hypocrisy as men. I ain't stupid. I grew up with the same shit. Like, you wanted your son to get women, be able to get women and shit, right? Man, I think that hurts a lot of young men, bro. When number one, you're praised if you're pulling a bunch of chicks. At the end of the day, you praised. But the dark shit that comes with that, with thinking that's success, is you got baby mamas that you never married, and now they're part of your life forever. And so when you do find somebody that you love and you want to marry, you still got that like, you know what I mean? Like, we all know we're not perfect, but in a perfect world, what would that scenario look like? That's where we should be guiding people. in my opinion. And we not. We got guys. We got even on the manos. You got the manosphere, bro. And I grew up like this, where how many bodies? How many 100 bodies? 200 bodies, bro. You have desensitized yourself. You don't need that much fucking experience. At this point, you have desensitized yourself. Talk about you got 100 bodies. I don't even want to. No, thank you. You imagine? I wouldn't even trust women, because I just been going to town. And then your wife, who's supposed to be your best friend, who you're supposed to respect, you're supposed to become one. This is you. You know she gonna be going to the store, getting checked out, getting somebody's gonna help her with at the fitting room that you done smashed. You're gonna take her out to dinner one night, and waitress, you done smashed, and the bartender, you done smashed. It's embarrassing for your wife, bro. It's embarrassing for your wife. You wouldn't want your daughter to be embarrassed like that, your mother to be embarrassed like that, bro. But you a damn hypocrite. Call me a simp if you want to. And I'm not saying men gotta be perfect. I know that's our nature. But our nature is to sin, right? That's all I'm saying. And so I think what makes a great man is to be able to have enough self-control and self-respect. Because I think we all can agree that we want to be successful in life. And to me, what a successful family is a nuclear home, is a nuclear family, the way God designed us. That's all I'm saying. And so if that's the goal, then we know that those natural urges, we're born sinners, guys. Right? Shit, I got natural urges to eat like shit. And I ain't perfect. I still I'm dodging bullets all the time. And I'm making mistakes. I'm eating, but I know it's wrong, and I know that ain't the North Star. So I get back on track. And at least on average, I'm good, right? But what I'm saying is, we're all natural sinners, but we know right from wrong. And we should be praising people doing right, not wrong. Jesus says, "You have heard that it was said, 'You shall not commit adultery.' But I tell you that anyone who looks at a woman lustfully has already committed adultery with her in his heart." It's lust, right? And when you worship lust, I'm telling you, like, that usually doesn't end well in the long term. We probably shouldn't be telling the next generation to worship lust so much, because it usually don't end well. You got people getting diseases, being desensitized, never having a nuclear family, or having babies with different baby mamas, and not like it's just ugly, man. And then the people who are affected the most are the children. That's all I'm saying. Okay, so no sex out of wedlock. And again, We probably going most of y'all, everybody, 95% of people have sex out of wedlock. But we all know it's wrong, and we should call it what it is. When it's wrong, it's wrong. Stop trying to justify the shit. You ate like shit today. Stop trying to justify it. It's wrong. That's cool. Let's that's all right. You fucked up. But we're getting better. We're getting better. We're getting better. We ain't on fucking podcast bragging about it, praising it. I'm embarrassed. Next one, Matthew, chapter 19, verses 4 through 6. Haven't you read, he replied, that at the beginning the Creator made them male and female, and said, for this reason a man will leave his father and mother and be united to his wife, and the two will become one flesh. So they're no longer two, but one flesh. Therefore, what God has joined together, let no one separate. When I read that, what I hear is another thing that I hear a lot of men say is, and this has been popular, women are saying it too. This has been real popular. It's a business move, or people just get married with not understanding how deep marriage is. You know what I'm saying? Like, my wife is me. Like, we are one, bro. Like, that relationship I had with my mother, bro, where my mother knew everything about me, and the things I didn't want her to know about is because I respected her so much and I loved her so deeply, and I didn't want to break her heart because I know how she would take a bullet from me. You know what I mean? Like that's a different type of love. That's the type of love that I have with my wife. It's unconditional. But what's special about your wife or your husband is that you chose them. Is that connection is deeper than just, like it's supposed to be next level. Her money, my money, our kids, our future, our cars, like all that shit, our problems, our loyalty. But people don't go into it with that mindset, and so those marriages are easy to crumble. It's easy to not be loyal. It's easy to cheat and commit adultery that way and not even feel nothing about it. Why would you do that to yourself type shit? Like, ain't no way, that's my best friend. That's like on a whole nother level. I think people miss out on that, man, for some reason, because it just don't make sense to me sometimes when I see how people treat their spouses, both men and women. And so there's another verse in here where he says in John chapter 8 verse 11, then neither do I condemn you, Jesus declared. Go now and leave your life of sin. So Jesus shows mercy, but he also calls for repentance and change from sinful behaviors, including sexual sin. Like, he's not like, I'm not saying you're a terrible person. I'm not saying you're not a good person. I'm just saying it's fucked up. We gotta stop justifying it, making the shit cool, because it's not. It's ruining our people. It's ruining our children. It's ruining society. We know that kids need their parents in their lives, right? We know we don't need no deadbeats. We know what it is, bro. But people don't be calling it what it is, you know. And then you really got young men, not just young men, older men too. You know, there's older men that they just, I can tell what their kids are probably gonna be like. I could tell what kind of money they probably make, how they make the money, even if they do make good money. Yeah. Look at this one. On loyalty and faithfulness. Matthew chapter 6, verse 24. No one can serve two masters. Either you'll hate the one and love the other, or you'll be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money, both God and lust. Sheesh. Look at this. All you need to say is simply yes or no. Anything behind this comes from the evil one. Ooh, listen to this one. Ooh, this is a banger. Luke chapter 16, verse 10. Whoever can be trusted with very little can also be trusted with much. And whoever is dishonest with very little will also be dishonest with much. So sexual purity. Sex outside of marriage isn't just about breaking a rule. It's about respecting the sacredness of the body, marriage, and relationships as God designed. Sexual sin affects not just the body, but the soul, relationships, and even society. This is all facts. We're seeing it in 4K in real life. People ain't sacred about marriage and relationships and none of that. Shit is like a video game to people. It's wild. They don't even respect themselves, bro. Shit is wild. Loyalty. Faithfulness is at the heart of a relationship with God and others. Whether it's loyalty to your spouse, your commitments, or to God himself, Jesus emphasized that trust and integrity are non-negotiable. Guard your heart and mind. Avoid situations that can lead to temptation. The people you're around, the content you're consuming. Matthew chapter 26, verse 41. Watch and pray so that you will not fall into temptation. Right? Your community, accountability. And here's the key. Here's the big one right here. This is a big one right here. And focusing on higher purposes help. Bro, you just if what you consume is mostly lustful shit, that's your highest purpose. Really? That's it? No wonder you're depressed. No wonder you so focused on that shit. I be thinking that too, like, how do people got so much time to even be in these situations? Like, how y'all got so much time to be in these situations? It's crazy. So yeah, I say all that to watch this video. I rock with the homie Anton Daniels. I've been following him way back in the day, and one thing I can say about Anton, there's a lot of influencers. that just making content. They're not very talented as individuals, but they're great content creators. Anton's different. He's talented. He's a talented individual. The way he speaks, the way that he can just explain exactly what he's thinking precisely, like on point. The dude, he's a really good speaker, and he's been on like the news and stuff, like live shows, and he welcomes debate. And he, for the most part, he handles it really, really well. All the criticism, all the hate, and he's not afraid of confrontation. I respect the hell out of him. But he was on this podcast, and I thought it was an interesting back and forth. And I kind of want to give my thoughts since we've already been kind of covering this topic. I think this is a good video to kind of check out. So, hold on. If you guys don't know Anton Daniels, he's an entrepreneur. He's made a lot of money building real businesses, and one thing that I also remember Anton talking about was how his YouTube channel was going to be a hell of a successful business. And my channel was always bigger than his, but never really got views like he does. He gets real views, and he keeps people engaged. And I just knew it was a matter of time. He was going to blow past me and a lot of other influencers. And now he's crushing it. Bro makes millions of dollars a year just from YouTube. Just from his YouTube channel. He's got his businesses. He's got real estate. He's doing really well for himself. And what I like about him, bro, is what he talks about, he is. They gonna talk crazy to him, but he's the only person on this show that is actually practicing what he's preaching. And I'm going to let him explain. I'll let you guys watch. Let's watch this together.
Our children are nothing more than a reflection of the failures of the people that came before them. That's it.
Yikes.
So when
This is Anton. Okay.
when I said earlier, when I said in a different show that I'm the man that I would want my daughter to marry, it's a reason for that. I don't make sacrifices, or I don't come into this whole situation looking to apologize. I'm looking to validate. I'm looking to remove every excuse that you have from being able to not make the right decision. And you often at times make the right decision every time because you are going to be a reflection of what me and your mother put into you. That's it.
I love the thought of that mindset. It sounds like a really good thing. In theory, that's...
Tell me, what did he say that warrants this type of response? That was a freaking bar everyone should agree with and should aspire to do.
Are going to be a reflection of what me and your mother put into you. That's it.
I love the thought of that mindset. It sounds like a really good
question.
thing.
So
In theory, that's
you said
beautiful.
preventative. If the conversation needs to be about preventative actions to not make families that could be potentially broken and things like that, what are the preventative actions that we need to discuss?
It's very simple. It goes back to the original marry before you carry. We need to stop dating,
Bars.
Stop experiencing a bunch of people, stop having a bunch of sex, stop putting yourself in a position to have to sacrifice.
Look at her face, bro. Look at the condescending face. What is he saying that's wrong? This is not what we should be telling our kids and the future generations.
So if we stop dating, how do we get to marriage?
You shouldn't even be. And I talked.
If you stop dating, how do you get to marriage? Anton's going to answer this perfectly, and then I'm gonna give my 2 cents.
I asked him that.
You shouldn't be dating. You shouldn't even be opening yourself up to all of these spirits from different men in the first place.
How do you meet your husband if you don't date?
You already probably met him. He's the person that has your best interests at heart. He's the person that already was your best friend. He's the person that had your best interest. Most women skip over the man that they were supposed to marry already. That's the key. And then y'all pick the guy that y'all want. He ruins you, and then you expect for another guy to come back and pick up the pieces for you. That's not the way to do it. We remix in what relationship.
So, listen to what he said. and listen to and then you hear the response. They said, so if you're not dating, how do you find the person for you? And he said, you probably already met him. You probably grew up with a guy that, because a lot of women, they don't want the guys that are around them. They don't see them. What they see is the same guys that every woman is looking at. And men are the same way. They're seeing the women that every guy's looking at. There's levels, right? And we're all at different levels. Now, some men can get ahead because of status, and so can women because of status. Not as much as men, of course, but I've seen some dudes that they'll get with chicks because of status. Come on, we know that's true. There's some guys that are down in the knock up Oprah Winfrey. Come on, we seen the Kardashians. Dude with Kris Jenner. Kris Jenner is about 40 years older than him. We know what that's about, okay? Let's not act like guys don't do it too. Not as much, not even probably close to as much, but they exist. They exceptional. So anyways, he's saying some real shit, and they're responding like, yeah, but how do I meet these guys? And this is why, as parents, it is important what schools your kids are in, because that's the network they're going to be around. Who your friends are and what are their kids like. Like, my network, my circle of friends, we all have high standards for our families. We are all in sync. We want some good kids, man. And we know it takes a village. And the people who can't handle, if I see my niece, if I see my nephew, and some of them ain't even blood, but they my nieces and nephews. If I see them acting out, I'm going to say something to them. I'm Unc. I got to. It takes a village, and I expect the people in my circle, my friends and my family, to do the same when they see one of my kids acting out, because it takes a village. So I want my kids to be around the kids that they should be building with in the future, that they should be, that have good families behind them. Because that shit matters too. Who are the parents? What are they like? What is my son marrying into? What is my daughter marrying into? And none of us are perfect, but we can improve. Our kids can do better than we did, right? Like, people get so defensive when you criticize, when you don't say that this is okay, that's ideal, right? Like, these people are getting so defensive instead of hearing him out. There's gotta be, if you were with a good family who put you first and put you in good schools, who parents were around good people and their network was good people, probably meant their kids were good kids, there's probably the ideal girl who's going to grow into the ideal woman that you probably keep a relationship with, because you probably know their background. You probably know more about them than going and dating a random stranger. That's how it used to be before social media. People don't realize that. Before social media, that's how it used to be, and that's how it still can be. You still go to school. You still grow up around people your age, your whole life. And I know there's exceptions. You go to the military, you move here, you move that. Military marriage is a whole nother ball game. And in the military, what I notice is people get married quick. Anyways, let's continue watching this, because it gets better.
Relationships are supposed to be. You ain't even supposed to be dating until
So
you
you
get
met
married.
him at a quick trip, but you never dated him, but you were supposed to marry him.
No, you was raised with him. You were around him. You went to school with him. Most people.
I promise you I didn't. Because you weren't social. Because you part of the brain rot era. How did you not? You didn't talk to nobody in your classroom? Your parents didn't put you around other kids? You were in after school programs and socialized with other kids? You was just on your iPhone your whole life. You was just on Instagram your whole life. I promise you I didn't. He look at all them giggling and shit. Y'all look corny.
That is not true.
Cause I'm so looking at my
Anton, you wasting your time being on this fucking show. That's
memory book.
I really do like your train of thought. I just feel as if I got a couple questions. First and foremost, is how old are you?
41.
Okay. Strike one. Second question.
strike one.
Where are you from?
Detroit.
Born and raised.
Hmm?
Strike two. When you understand the world is different in every area.
I didn't try.
Why does this dude assume? I hate when people do that shit, bro. The most basic common sense shit, you gonna present it as if you saying something crazy. Your age, okay, so you can't relate to us, and then you grew up, born and raised in the same city, so you haven't experienced the world. Man, what the hell you talking about, bro? Anyone can think critically and make this and be educated and and be able to understand things. Like, number one, number two, why are you assuming? What is your assumption?
Okay. Strike one. Second question, where are you from?
Detroit.
Born and raised.
Mm-hmm.
Strike two. When you understand the world is different in every area.
I didn't
How
travel.
condescending
Yeah,
is
but at
that?
what age?
My whole life.
What age?
My whole life.
Give me your first age.
Yeah, this guy's questions, just the way he's questioning and the condescending, he thinks he's smarter than he is. He has Dunning-Krugers, for sure. He thinks he's smarter than he is. Bro, what do you mean, what age did I first travel? What?
When you
13.
You was 13. No. Give me your first age where you experienced life as a man in a different state. Outside
13.
of the Midwest
Oh,
area.
as a man? 18.
18. Where'd you go?
Ohio.
Outside the Midwest.
Outside the Florida.
Okay.
19.
19. Who were you with?
My father.
As a man, by yourself. But
Bro keeps moving the goalpost. You never once said without your father, bro.
have to do
As a man, he's 19. You can have a relationship with your father, travel with him, and be a man. You realize that, right?
it's over with you because we can go back.
What do you
and
mean
forth.
as a man by
As
myself?
a man, as an adult, I'm not talking about with your daddy on your side. I'm not talking about with your mother on your side. I ain't talking about your uncle, your cousin. When did you
Bro.
take your nutsack and run around by yourself as a man with a friend in a different place? At what
I
age?
don't know
With
if
a
he
friend?
did that because he got
I got married
married.
at 22 years
but
old.
this
big
is
dog.
this is what I'm
I
trying.
got
to
married at 22. I was
Exactly.
intentional.
So
I
this,
chose my
hold
wife
on,
when I
hold
met
on,
her in high school.
hold on, listen. All I'm doing is asking you questions.
I know, but I'm telling you that
Okay.
I don't
So
put myself in a
much.
position
So what I'm
to make
trying
mistakes.
to
It's a
tell you,
difference.
but no,
This is so
the difference
much.
is this. You got married at 22 years
That's
old,
right.
20 fucking years ago, bro.
Correct.
You understand the world's not the same then?
Let me tell you something.
No,
The
no,
word-
no, wait.
The word don't change ever.
The
It's the
word
same way it was yesterday as it is today.
Not
The
true.
method by which you go about being successful is the same.
So we're
You can
still slaves.
Listen,
I
I
get
tell
what you're
you
saying.
what. I tell you what.
So we're still slaves. What kind of shit? Y'all not trying to understand his point.
Get what you're saying.
You telling me that it don't work, right?
No, I'm not. You're not letting me
telling me
tell
that
you're
okay,
not
go
letting me
ahead.
tell
I'm
you.
sorry.
Okay, wait. I want to
Because
get back. Let me take the conversation back to this because I had some questions. I had some stuff on my card that I want to talk about, and I want to talk about it. Okay. Now, what kind of parents are y'all? More traditional or gentle parents? Shit.
Anyways, I just thought that was interesting. That was interesting how They were so defensive right away. He's done everything right. And everybody's got all these excuses why they can't. Like, bro, just the reaction that you guys had, you've normalized it in your world. There's plenty of people who, this shit ain't normal. This shit is not normal. Maybe for people who live on social media, but this is why brain rot is ruining people. That's literally brain rot content. Wild, wild, wild. Anton Daniels, good guy, really, really good guy. Let's see, I don't want to continue brain rot, so I had some other topics that I wanted to look at tonight, but I figure maybe you guys, we can direct the next topic. Just quick, I think most of the time brain rot isn't necessarily it's dopamine, right? So usually you get brain rot when it's not intentional, or it's really short form. So like, I could still watch a reel or a TikTok to answer a question and not live on TikTok and not keep swiping, right? I just went, and so part of the reason why I don't use TikTok for research is because of that. The For You page is brain rot because it's the algorithm set up to just give you dopamine and keep you going. We know that's not, most of the time it's not growth stuff. And so for me, the opposite of brain rot is working on yourself, seeking your interest, being in the moment, and actually having deep thought about it so you're understanding what you're consuming. So like, for example, let's say there's a certain topic. Let's say we wanted to talk about investing in stocks, right? I would have to be able to self-evaluate myself real quick and kind of see, you know, what am I curious about? What would pique my interest in that? And then I'll start going through that rabbit hole. And I'm not multitasking, because what ends up happening is when you multitask too much, and I do this, and there's tedious stuff that I will multitask, but when I'm trying to learn something or I need to be in the moment, it's not good to multitask, you know? So, appreciate it, Richard. So like, what's been concerning me for the longest was the tariffs. So I've been keeping up with that because it affects my business. And then I've been looking at the stock market, and I've been looking at the economy. It's important. Shit, next week it might be some fucking, who knows? You know, I did some research on this new federal tax bill that Trump is supposed to be trying to get approved. And they're talking about bringing back permanently accelerated depreciation and removing the SALT cap, which is big for property taxes, which I pay a lot of property taxes. Florida has some high property taxes. And so I went through that little rabbit hole, and I used a little bit of ChatGPT, some YouTube, and it was growth. To me, that's not brain rot. And now when I have conversations with people, I'm informed. I can have interesting conversations on these topics that I'm interested in naturally, and that'll gravitate me towards the right people that are also interested. We have some things in common. Friendships are built. And if you're doing it as you're growing up and you're socializing with people, you might find a spouse. You know, but most of you guys be on fucking apps swiping. You know. Oh man. Yeah. Oh. And so I guess I wasn't really done with the whole manosphere thing. And so I think you know, I asked, what does it mean to be a good man based on what God considers a good man? And he said, number one, loves God first. In Matthew chapter 22, verse 37 says, love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your mind. And I kind of wrote something that kind of a testimony for me is that this is kind of why I think this is important, to love God first. When you put God first, it aligns everything else in your life. You're not the center, He is. When God is at the center, life gets lighter. Man, that's a big one. So much burden comes off your shoulders, and the reason why is because the pressure to control every outcome, it fades, because you know you're guided by something greater. You know it's up to Him. And I love the saying, you know, work like it's up to you, pray like it's up to Him. Man, it removed anxiety from me. I felt like it brought more clarity, and it helped me feel like as long as I move with God at the center, whether I'm going northwest or northeast, I'm still going north. And that is what I think a man of God does. And that's what I think a good man does. Number two, loves others as himself. Right? Love your neighbor as yourself. Matthew 22:39. This is a big one too, because man, just removes all that hate out of you, and this is something I struggle with a lot of times, man. I've always had a short temper, and I was brought up, you know, to fight as a fighter, bro. I was brought up not to take shit from nobody, and sometimes I did have a victim mentality. Sometimes I did have low self-esteem, but also low self-respect. And I thought, you know, toughness was how you got respect, you know. So, loving your neighbor as yourself, you just move different, man. You just not so damn on edge, and that feels so much better, not to be on edge all the time, bro. You know, loving others means serving, forgiving, being patient. We all need grace. It's how we reflect God's love in real life. We all need grace, man. Everybody's got their own problems, right? Shit. I know I had some years, bro, where I was just like, man, if somebody just say something nice today, that would be a nice change for once, you know. I love that one. So I think loving others as himself is another Another thing that good men have in them. Number 3, walks in humility and serves others. Yeah, servant leadership. Matthew chapter 23, verse 11. The greatest among you will be your servant. Damn. Jesus flipped the script. Leadership is about service, not status. It's not about being first. It's about lifting others up. You look for small ways to serve without expecting anything back, whether it's at work, at home, or with strangers. You don't do it because they do it, or I'm not going to do it because they don't do it. You just do it because it's what good men do. What's so hard about that one? I have a mentorship for barbers, and it's one of the things that I teach in the first, in the first portion, because mindset's so important. Like, bro, I don't understand this whole mentality. Like, that's his shop, it's not mine, so I ain't gonna market it. You just do it, bro, because that's what good men do, bro. Like, you're part of that team. If they not gonna do it, that's their problem. They don't want to sweep, that's their problem. They don't want to be clean, that's their problem. But my clients use this bathroom. My clients do, this is the shop that I serve my clients, and you know what? It's the right thing to do. That's what good men do. Regardless of what everybody else is doing. Listen, I'm not trying to be like you. I'm trying to be like God wants me to be. It's a different mentality, right? Number 4 stands for truth, even when it costs him. Let your yes be yes and your no be no. Damn. Matthew chapter 5, verse 37. Why? Because integrity is non-negotiable. Jesus spoke truth to power with love, but without compromise. A good man doesn't fold when it's uncomfortable. You speak truth gently, but firmly, even when it feels risky. I love that. I love that. That's another thing, bro, that I notice a lot of men, bro, and that's why I love the book again. I'm gonna bring it up again, How to Win Friends and Influence People. I didn't grow up that way. I grew up loud, aggressive, intimidation mattered. I used to fight. I used to fight every week, it felt like. They used to have me in anger management, separated from the public classes, because I was fighting all the time. And I thought that's what men did, and I'm not saying you shouldn't be able to handle yourself in case of confrontation, of course. But you think UFC fighters are out here just beating everybody's asses? No. They have self-control. Thank God they not. But your delivery, if you truly care, if you truly want a good response, if you truly mean well, because you're going to tell them the truth, but you mean well, you speak the truth gently, but firmly. So there's no resentment, so people can receive the message. And if they respond differently, you keep speaking the truth gently, but firmly. And I've been I've messed up here. I got to work on this, because I be meeting people where they come. Sometimes I assume, I ain't gonna lie, the way he was condescending, the way that they was condescending in this video, Anton handled himself great. I felt like Young Bull was trying to be condescending and was trying. I might have met him with his little condescending voice right where he was at. But I know that's wrong. Number 5, forgives radically. Matthew 18:22. I tell you, not 7 times, but 70 times 7. 70 times 7. Holding on to bitterness enslaves you, not the other person. Forgiveness is freedom. Damn. When someone wrongs you, pray for them, especially when it's hard. That's not an easy one, boy. That takes a real strong man. That takes a real strong man. But we've seen young men, successful young men, crash out. How many rappers you've seen crash out, ruin their lives, ruin their careers? They got everything. They got a gift from God, a talent that's a gift from God, and they have a platform, and they have resources, and they have influence, and they can use all this for great things, but they still in the streets, crashing out with enemies that don't serve you, bro. Could be free right now. So, man, it takes a real man. Where it's hard for young men because we're taught not to look like a sucker. I'll be out here looking like a bitch, bro. Number 6, puts others before himself. Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friend. Man, that's one thing that I learned from God what true love is, and it's the ultimate sacrifice. That is the truest form of love. Do you have friendships like that? Man, so many people I feel like don't have friendships like that. Don't really got nothing to lose, right? Because you obviously don't respect your relationships with the people in your life, with your loved ones, or you take it for granted, and you're the problem. A good man protects, provides, and sacrifices for those he loves. It's not about ego, it's about sacrificial love. You know, we talked about earlier about men and men naturally lust, right? To sin. Men naturally sin. And I'm saying men, women, right? I'm just saying how the book says it. All these guys talking about having multiple wives and shit, that shit's crazy to me. Whatever, to each their own. But, you know, you have free will. But I don't want my daughter being okay with that. Her and her man should be one, and that's it. 3 ain't one. 4 ain't one. We can do 2. 2 can be 1. But 3, 4, 5, 6 can't be 1. That's too much. Ain't enough room in here. We ain't got that much time. Alright. But it's sometimes because you love somebody, you don't necessarily have to sacrifice your life. But that's a lot of men would sacrifice their life for their wives, for their mother, for their children. A lot of men would do that because you love them. But you won't sacrifice adultery. Yeah, I mean, you won't sacrifice drugs. And I know, guys, I know it's not easy. Shit, people are literally addicted. It's a mental illness. I get it. But I still think it's important to seek God's advice on these topics, you know. It's about sacrifice. He puts others before himself. Number 7 is lives with eternal perspective. Okay, so this is a heavy one. Matthew 16:26. What good will it be for someone to gain the whole world yet forfeit their soul? Eternal perspective. Success here is temporary. Jesus calls us to focus on the bigger picture. Eternity. You hear that? So when people, I hear people that I highly respect say things like, when you die, you just die. There's no legacy. People will forget you, blah, 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 blah. That's not the point. The point is, if you're going to be a good man isn't worried about, oh, people are going to forget about me in 2 generations. Because the greatest man will be remembered for eternity. That's Jesus Christ, in my opinion. I'm not trying to knock anybody's faith. I respect your faith. But God is the perfect man, and he's here for eternity. And so whether you will die a legend or not doesn't matter. It's the discipline to be a man capable of that. Where are you storing your treasure? So you should check yourself on the regular. Are your goals aligned with God's will or just your own ambition? So essentially, a good man is a man who loves God, who loves others, and leads through service and sacrifice, not ego or power. And we are being taught the opposite, ain't we? How do you avoid brain rot? We kind of covered it, man. If you want to rewind it a little bit and you'll see it, but essentially more long form helps, not multitasking, not relying on your For You page. Don't let the algorithms dictate what you're watching, because they're just seeking dopamine. The content you should be watching is for growth, interests, things you're weak at that you need to get better at, whether that's socializing or it's business, or you want to learn about clothing and fashion because you want to dress better. Go watch shit on that, and be intentional with what you're consuming. Obviously, you gotta have a balanced life, and you need the dopamine every now and then, but you can't be addicted to it. Everybody's addicted to it. So I mean, look at the situation with Shannon Sharpe. I haven't watched the, I don't even know the story. I don't know how I should watch the story because I don't want bias, is what I don't want. I was about to click on this one with Stephen A, but I don't want him to lead my thoughts on it. So I want to get informed. So let me see if I can, Shannon Sharpe, allegations. Where can I get a unbiased? Should I do this one? The site Law and Crime? Definitely not going to do Dr. Umar. Not Stephen A. Not TMZ. They be fucking clout chasing. I'm going to go with Law and Crime. All right. You guys want to watch this? Let's check this out. Here we go.
This just in, the Texas attorney who targeted Sean Diddy Combs with dozens of civil lawsuits on behalf of John and Jane Doe's allegedly victimized by the music mogul has a new target in his sights, NFL legend Shannon Sharpe. A brand new lawsuit was just filed in Nevada claiming Sharpe was manipulative and abusive and eventually sexual.
That is not. That's not the name you want to be compared to. This is already getting crazy.
Actually assaulted a Jane
It's not looking good already.
The latest claims allegedly happening as recently as January. We got our hands on the filing, and we're going to break down everything you need to know. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. Tony Busby's back. The lawyer who went after Sean Combs, Jay-Z, we'll talk about that. Well, he is still swinging at high-profile men that he claims are abusers. This time he's calling out Shannon Sharpe, the 56-year-old NFL superstar turned podcaster and commentator. Brand new lawsuit filed against Shannon Sharpe. We got a copy of it right here. It was filed out in Nevada. We're going to go over it. But Shannon Sharpe, in case you don't know who he is, he played 14 seasons in the NFL with the Denver Broncos, the Baltimore Ravens. He was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 2011. After he retired, he spent time as a sports commentator and analyst. You might remember that he co-hosted Skip and Shannon Undisputed with Skip Bayless from 2016 to 2023. Bayless and his then employer, by the way, Fox Sports, they faced their own accusations of sexual misconduct in a separate filing from earlier this year. We covered it here on the Sidebar as well. Now, Sharpe is part of the sports podcast space. He hosts two shows, Club Shay Shay and Nightcap. In fact, you remember his interview with comedian Cat Williams in January 2024 on Club Shay Shay? That helped spark, I should say, a renewed interest in Sean Diddy Combs and his alleged bad behavior at his infamous parties. Got a lot of people talking.
Now, I've had...
That's when you got on that lawyer's radar. That lawyer, you got on his radar.
Had to turn down $50 million 4 times. 4 times. Just to protect my integrity and that I was telling you about. Right. Because P. Diddy be wanting to party. And you gotta tell him no. You got to tell him no. I did. I did.
But now it's Shannon Sharpe who's in the spotlight for his own accusations of abuse. Because on Monday morning, Texas attorney Tony Busby announced on his Instagram that he'd filed a $50 million lawsuit in Nevada court against Sharpe. On Instagram, he wrote in part, "I'm extremely proud to represent Jane Doe. It takes a great deal of courage to stand up against those with power, fame, and money. I look forward to pressing this case in court." So we're going to go over this, but I want to first bring in John Clune, civil attorney who litigates on behalf of survivors of sexual abuse and sexual assault. John, so good to have you. And again, this is kind of breaking news. I didn't have an opportunity to fully go through this lawsuit, so you and I are going to break this down in basically real time. When we saw this early this morning, it was a shock to us. What was your initial reaction?
My initial reaction was the timing of it, to be honest. Before I read the lawsuit, just the timing of it for it to be filed, on Easter Sunday, that struck me as an unusual move. But then as I went through the lawsuit, the allegations are pretty disturbing. We don't know if they're true or not, but what's written in the complaint is pretty terrible stuff.
John, I have to say, to go after Shannon Sharpe, if you're Tony Busby, after...
They're not going to go over what... All right, I'll tell you guys what they're claiming. The plaintiff alleges that Sharpe sexually assaulted her multiple times, including incidents on October 2024 and January 2025, and that he recorded and shared their sexual encounters without her consent. She's accusing him of rape, sexual battery, and emotional abuse during their nearly 2-year relationship. Y'all remember when they leaked audio of him, you know what? And it was all over the radio, and yeah. Something's weird.
After what happened, what just happened with Jay-Z? Remember, he filed that lawsuit on behalf of a Jane Doe, a woman who claimed that she was 13 years old back in 2000 and was sexually assaulted by Jay-Z. That lawsuit was dropped And it came after serious questions of her story and credibility surfaced, both by reporting by NBC News and evidence that was presented by Jay-Z's side.
That's crazy.
Jay-Z ended up suing this woman, suing Tony Busby as well. So now to go after Shannon Sharpe, another high-profile figure, does that tell you that he feels he has the evidence in this case?
Well, you know, Mr.
Who is this guy, the lawyer? I was gonna say that too. Everybody this lawyer's suing is black. This man going after all the black celebrities. Jay-Z kind of sues attorney on Thursday. I don't know, man. These attorneys they are wild, man. Like a lot of times, man, they just want a quick check to make it go away. And whether it's true or not, if they got enough money, they just gonna write a check and get it out the way before it makes national news and all that shit, you know?
Mr. Busby is a pretty bold mover in this space. I mean, he seems to not be, you know, shy about his decision making. So it could mean that he's got the goods in this particular case, or it could just be, you know, kind of par for the course, and this is how he, you know, handles his high-profile cases.
But you know, and me and I know, you can't just file a frivolous lawsuit. You can't file a lawsuit to harass somebody. You have to believe the law, the facts. There's, you know, there has to be some semblance of facts that you put forward in a complaint that pass an motion to dismiss test. So he has to feel that he might not have all the evidence right now, but he has to feel confident in Jane Doe's account, right? Otherwise, he'd be breaking ethics rules.
Yeah, and you know, the thing with
He's got to be confident because, from my understanding, Jay-Z is suing Tony Busby. That's what they said in this video, and that case is ongoing. So he's not even finished with that defamation case. So to do this, imagine it's all fake, and he gets another defamation case. Bro, gonna be bankrupt.
With these accounts, like in a sexual assault, just a Jane Doe against an individual, is it's really hard to get rid of that case on a motion to dismiss, or even down the road on a motion for summary judgment. Because if you have your client who's saying, this is what happened to me, and then in this case, say Mr. Sharpe says, no, that's not what happened, it was very different, that's really a trial issue. That's not something a judge is really going to dismiss on motion. So other types of cases that have more subtle elements to them maybe can get dismissed on motion, but this kind of thing is really hard for a defendant to get rid of short of trial.
By the way, our content shows just how rampant crime is right now, and that is especially true with cybercrime. Cybercrime growing more dangerous and widespread. It threatens businesses like never before. I mean, did you know that in 2024, she will be able to continue moving forward in this litigation anonymously? I know in the Sean Combs case, several courts have said that the Jane Does and possibly even the John Does have had to come forward and reveal their identities. Talk to me about what the interests, the different factors the court will look at, and whether or not Jane Doe would be able to proceed anonymously.
Yeah, I'd say at best it's 50-50 that she's able to proceed in that fashion. I mean, generally speaking, there's a strong preference in the courts for transparency and open proceedings. That includes using your real name in the lawsuit. If you can convince a court that there's a public interest in keeping her name from the public, which can be something like safety issues, it can be the shame of the situation, if it's the age of the person, quite often if they're underage, you're much more likely to be able to keep the pseudonym. But in this kind of a case where it's one adult against another, unless there's any particular safety harms, it's not an easy thing to be able to convince a judge to keep it as a Jane Doe.
Yeah, and I've seen the argument put forward by the judge. Basically, if you are choosing to file a lawsuit and you are putting this celebrity in the spotlight, the defendant has a right to defend himself, to investigate your claims, to investigate you. You're the one who chose to file the lawsuit and put your credibility at issue. So you should have to be able to proceed with your name and your identity being exposed. But again, there are certain factors to consider. And by the way, when we talk about Tony Buzbee, let's not forget, he filed numerous lawsuits on behalf of others against Sean Combs. That's how his name has really come up in the news in the past several years, right? He held that press conference where he said that he was representing so many, dozens and dozens of accusers against Sean Combs. So now I want to dig into what this lawsuit has to say. So Tony Buzbee, let me just say this, known for his flamboyant speech in his civil filings. And in this one doesn't appear to be any exception, because it begins, a woman can say yes to consensual sexual relations with a man 99 times, but when she says no, even once, that no means no. Defendant Shannon Sharpe, a man who's accustomed to getting what he wants, completely fails to understand this basic concept. After many months of manipulating and controlling plaintiff, a woman more than 30 years younger than he, and repeatedly threatening to brutally choke and violently slap her, Sharpe refused to accept the answer no and raped plaintiff, despite her sobbing and repeated screams of no. According to the complaint, Jane Doe worked out at this same gym as Shannon Sharpe in Los Angeles, and she was 19 at the time. This is what she claims. And she claims that he had been watching her during her workouts and finally introduced himself, insisting that she give him her number. And the filing says that Jane Doe found Sharpe, quote, physically intimidating. The lawsuit reads, over the next couple of weeks, Sharpe incessantly pursued plaintiff. He constantly approached her at the gym and attempted to contact her frequently with phone calls and text messages asking to meet up, unwilling to take no for an answer. Eventually, plaintiff gave in and agreed to meet with Sharpe outside of the gym. However, before doing so, Sharpe demanded that Doe sign a non-disclosure agreement, or NDA, something plaintiff found a bit concerning. She wondered why Sharpe was so insistent on her signing an NDA. She refused, despite his repeated efforts to get her to sign.
Bro, this sounds like a shakedown, I ain't gonna lie. But that's what happens when you worship lust. You know, I'm not saying that I'm not justifying this. I'm just saying, keeping up with the topic at hand, ain't a lot of good that comes from this, man. You got a 19-year-old girl who's probably leading Shannon Sharpe on for this exact play right here. And he ignored her. She's 19. I'm famous. Nice try. Nice try, Diddy. Like, you're not gonna get me. I know what the devil looks like when I see it. Or it was consensual. She saw a celebrity. He hit it. Right? She's 19. I guess she's of age, but man, if that was my daughter, oh my God. This man is 50-something years old. However old he is. Let me see, how old is Shannon Sharpe? He's what? He is 56 years old. What's my 19-year-old daughter doing smashing a 56-year-old man, bro? Okay, but we're not even talking about that. It's legal. He's good. And a 19-year-old girl ain't getting with Shannon Sharpe because she likes him. She thinks he's cute. So her being surprised that he had her sign an NDA, if this is true, why is she acting like she was wondering why he was so insistent? You know what that? It's Shannon Sharpe. You know what you was doing. shit already got red flags. But, hey, I could be wrong.
She refused time and again. Eventually, he dropped the issue and invited her to his house. Now, the lawsuit claims that this relationship between Sharpe and Jane Doe, again more than 30 years his junior, was consensual, but it was rocky. She said he'd insisted they were exclusive, but then was caught multiple times lying about his whereabouts and who he was seeing. According to the filing, quote, by October 2024, Sharpe's behavior had grown progressively worse, beyond anything plaintiff had experienced with him before. At this point, he was insistent upon recording their sexual activity, sometimes without her knowledge. Sharpe was also sharing the videos with others without her permission or knowledge. Sharpe would repeatedly tell Doe that he wanted to do to her things that would make no other man want her. By this point, Sharpe was no longer able to credibly maintain the relationship was exclusive. He had at this point accidentally or purposely, to advance his career, went live on Instagram while having sex with another woman. Sharpe flew.
Remember I brought that up in the beginning? I knew it was gonna get brought up. I knew it was gonna get brought up, but apparently it has no. It's not related to this specific woman.
Into fits of anger when plaintiff noted his infidelity to the relationship or called him out about his extraneous activities. What had once become manipulation, control, and intimidation now became something far more dangerous and sinister. Sharpe even figured out how to get into Doe's apartment complex without her permission. Sharpe made it clear that what Doe wanted was of no moment, that Sharpe would get what he wanted when he wanted it. In October 2024, Shannon Sharpe violently sexually assaulted and anally raped plaintiff 2 different times in Las Vegas, Nevada, blatantly ignoring her request for him to stop. He did it again in January. Now, before I get into what the claims for relief are here, first, John, your thoughts on that narrative put forward by Jane Doe?
Yeah, I mean, it's deliberately graphic narrative. There's nothing inherently wrong with going into that level of detail in these types of cases to kind of get the court's attention on how serious this is. But it's probably on the more graphic side of the scale in terms of these types of pleadings.
If there are recordings, how would she be able to get access to them, and how could that help her case?
Well, when she gets into civil discovery, she can demand copies of those. Whether they exist or ever existed, we don't know. But if they do exist, he'll be required to produce those. I mean, those could be significant. I mean, if you have videotapes of either non.
I mean, if she can't prove, if they don't find those videos, they can find those videos. You know, they got those forensic people that can get that shit, bro. I don't know. It should be an easy, if she's not lying, it should be easy to prove it. If she got videos and there's text messages where he's sharing it without her knowing. But I don't know, man. This is
non-consensual.
It's a lot of red flags.
Behavior or behavior that regardless of how it appears, looks like there's surreptitious recordings of somebody. I mean, that's definitely something that would look really bad for any defendant.
Is it problematic for her that they were in a relationship? You know, he talks about in the beginning of the lawsuit, a woman could say yes 99 times. If she says no once and you continue on, that's sexual assault, that's rape. Do you believe that them being in a consensual relationship for a long period of time or a period of time, do you believe that, according to her claims, even after being asked to sign an NDA, she nonetheless engaged in a relationship with him? Do you think that hurts her credibility?
I don't think it hurts her credibility. I think it's something that a defendant can use to their advantage to show the number of times that there was consensual sexual behavior as a suggestion that maybe these instances are being manipulated for the purpose of financial gain. So it's not quite as bright line as if though there had been never any sexual contact between the two of them. But maybe if this was 25 years ago, it'd be more of a problem. I think these days jurors have an understanding that people in intimate relationships can also be victims of sexual violence. So I wouldn't call it a big problem, but it's something that could be manipulated.
I'm just reading this this January 2025 alleged sexual assault. It's pretty disgusting. I mean, she basically says that she was begging for him to stop. He became more aggressive. He wouldn't wear protection, and that this sexual assault lasted roughly 10 minutes. I'm not going to get into the details of it. How does she prove that? Is it just her testimony? Is it that if she told anybody, let's say she didn't tell anybody, didn't tell authorities, is it just her testimony against his? I mean, will that be the key of it, her taking the stand and explaining this happened to her?
That's going to be the center of it for the both of them. They both have the ability to describe what did or didn't happen, and it's going to be believability. Like you said, if she did tell somebody, that's helpful. If she sought any sort of medical treatment, that's also helpful. But it's also possible that neither of those things happen. It just becomes one person's word against another.
So she is suing for assault, sexual assault, battery, sexual battery, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. I imagine there's probably no statute of limitations issue since this is alleged to have occurred in 2023. Are these relatively broad causes of action, specific causes of action? Are they particularized in any way? Talk to me about what you believe about these causes of action that she's suing under.
I mean, that matches the facts of what she's alleged. I think they're relatively specific to the information that's in the complaint. So, that's the kind of collection of claims I would expect any attorney to bring, given those facts that they laid out in the complaint.
And the defense would be that either this didn't happen or it was consensual, right?
Right. That's pretty much the two options. Most of the time these days, because of things like, DNA or other ways to corroborate some sort of sexual activity, consent becomes the number one defense. So that's what we see most of the time.
Remember when I said this was a $50 million lawsuit? So I want to read you what she's suing for. General damages in the sum of excess of $10 million, special damages in the sum of excess $10 million, punitive damages $20 million, statutory penalties $10 million. How do that feels like a lot of money. I mean, now that you also wonder, how do you put a price on if this really did happen? How do you put a price on sexual assault? But
yeah, so I guess he responds. Let's see what his response is like. His response is like,
hey, so in today's video, we got to talk about Shannon Sharpe. It's looking like Shannon Sharpe responded to the viral news that came out about him recently. That news had broke earlier. Everybody was reporting on it and talking about it. And yeah, man, in my opinion, I thought this was no surprise because we just seen the news earlier this week. Shannon Sharpe, as you guys can see right here, he has signed this big media contract for his podcast. Shannon Sharpe eyes a $100 million podcast deal as volume contract expires. Sources tell Front Office Sports the Pro Football Hall of Famer has received multiple offers and is expected to sign a deal that would exceed $100 million. Shannon Sharpe partnered with the Volume in August 2023, several months after leaving FS1 Undisputed. Club Shay Shay immediately took off to become one of the biggest podcasts in sports entertainment, particularly YouTube, where it's a juggernaut. Nightcat with co-host Chad Ochocinco Johnson also has a considerable audience. But yeah, man, Shannon Sharpe is near signing a $100 million deal for Club Shay Shay and Nightcat. When I saw this allegation come out and then I saw how much money this person was suing for $50 million, it was like, okay, this has to be one of his jump offs, somebody that he was allegedly freaking with, right? He stopped talking to him, and they just recently seen this news that Shannon Sharpe is about to sign a $100 million deal. Just why did this person feel like they need to come out and sue Shannon Sharpe for $50 million, right? So as you guys can see right here, here's the report that I want to show you guys before I show you guys Shannon Sharpe's response. So this report came out earlier today. New York Post posted it, and it said Shannon Sharpe accused of a $50 million lawsuit after rocky consensual relationship. As you can see, it says Hall of Fame tight end Shannon Sharpe has been accused of rape by a woman under the name Jane Doe. We gave you guys Shannon Sharpe's response. As you can see right here, guys, this is Shannon Sharpe's Twitter account, and he had put out these statements right here. He put out 2 pages of a statement, and I'll just pull it up right here, guys. Pretty much what Shannon Sharpe had put out, he is putting out showing that how consensual their relationship was. And yeah, man, it's just a lot of freaky tech.
Oh, that's her name. It's not Jane Doe no more. It's Gabriella Zuniga. It is a real person, and they not playing. Hold on. This is on X. Oh. That's not her. So I guess that's not her. Fits the description.
Text. And I do want to read this out though. It says the edited tape that Jane Doe secretly taped and showed to Mr. Sharpe during her blackmail attempt tries to falsely portray, as a result of this editing and out of context from prior text messages, that the sexual activity was not consensual, but Mr. Sharpe now believes her secret taping was all part of her plan, set up as part of her blackmail scheme, as distorted by her edited tape, a copy of which she refused to make available to Mr. Sharpe and his counsel. Mr. Sharpe denies all allegations of coercion and misconduct, especially the gross lie of rape, and will not submit to what he sees as an egregious attempt at blackmail. He stands firmly by the truth and is prepared to fight these false claims vigorously in court. He looks forward to vindication through due process and a judgment based on the facts and the law. So yeah, man, Shannon Sharpe and his legal team is saying that this lady is trying to blackmail Shannon Sharpe, and also she had falsified the text messages and was deleting stuff to make it look like Shannon Sharpe was constantly pursuing her, and also she had video footage that she had edited and won't.
This is her. Damn, Shannon. That's the gym she got you at. So obviously he did hit it, because he's sharing text messages with her, right?
Shannon Sharpe's Twitter account, and he had put out these statements right here. He put out 2 pages of a statement, and
that should say, text from Gabriella to Shannon. I want to put my tongue in your hole and then marry you. Bro, put a black baby in me. You're gonna be stuck with it for life after you put a baby in me. Right? These are the text messages she was texting him. What were you responding back, Shannon? Them text messages would have scared me. 19-year-old girl, I'm 56, talking to me like that. We know what she wants, bro. How are these celebrities getting caught up like this? Is this insane? Damn.
It won't show Shannon Sharpe and his team the unedited version of this video footage that she's trying to, I guess, blackmail Shannon Sharpe with, allegedly based off.
You know what's funny is that allegedly she's an OnlyFans girl. She has an OnlyFans. And we're supposed to believe she did not want him recording, smashing her. That would be a dream come true for her OnlyFans. She'd make millions of dollars from that, because there's sick dudes that would want to watch that. Isn't that what OnlyFans would want? A celebrity on their page?
Off the statements that Shannon Sharpe had put out on his Twitter account.
This is crazy.
So yeah, man, Shannon Sharpe is saying that he is blackmailed. I would like for you guys to get in the comment section down below. How do you feel about everything? I do think it is definitely sketchy based off of literally Saturday. The reports came out, Shannon Sharpe.
Bro, it is sketchy as hell. He just signed a $100 million deal, and this chick all of a sudden wants 50. What she really wants is 10. But she coming in at 50. We'll settle for 10. I'll get out of your hair. It's only 10%. I'll get out of your hair. Damn, Shannon. All right, well, that's what I mean, bro. Nothing comes good of that shit, bro. You can't make yourself busy enough to not find those problems. With all the success, the fame, the money, the people around you, you can't keep busy enough to not have them type of problems. Oof. Because obviously he was dealing with her. She got his phone number. They text. Man, this is wild. Way too. Man, y'all, the lust gets you so. A stranger. They were dating for 2 years. My ass. I wasn't dating for no damn 2 years. She talking to him like that. That's crazy, bro. This is what world we living in. All right. You know what? I'm done. I'm done for tonight. Thanks for hanging out with me, y'all. I will be live again tomorrow. We'll lock in then. Not at night though. I'm gonna be like in the morning, probably tomorrow. So we're back from Tulum. I'm happy to be back, but now I'm happy to go to bed. Y'all have a good night.